We have started to record the most recent session of MM2003, Reporting and Writing for the Mass Media for the Fall Semester. It is Tuesday, November 30th, 2021. I hope all of you enjoyed your Thanksgiving break. As you can tell, in my household, over my left shoulder, I have spared no expense in making sure that the spirit of the season is available on our final 3 course videos for the term. Today is going to strictly be a research opportunity for all of you to consider ideas for your final project on visual journalism, which is going to be due at the end of finals week. Taking a news story with data visualization, with any type of video that you may consider, or infographics, and putting it into a unique context. I have a lot of examples to show you going back all the way to the first time that I taught this course during the fall of 2012, all the way up to different types of websites from last year, fall of 2020. I also have research available through web searches for data visualization and infographics. But before we get to any of that, here's a reminder of what's coming up, and I want to go to the syllabus first. A friendly reminder about point allocation, the blogs, the final project, and class participation. Today, as I mentioned, is solely going to be research. I'm not going to look at any of your websites because assignment 20, the wild card, is technically due on Thursday. However, when you are completed with the blog to your satisfaction, I will post a score on Blackboard, probably at the end of this week, no later than Saturday, indicating what your scores are out of a maximum of 200 points on the blog. And remember what I say here, quote, each is designed to enhance the long-term knowledge, credibility, and resourcefulness of students as reporters, writers, editors, and information managers. Long story short, does it read, report, have the creativity and look of a professional news blog on both your phone and your computer? That's the bottom line. If I'm scrolling through any of your blogs and there are inconsistencies in any of the areas that I've been talking about during the semester on all of these course videos, that's going to have an impact on your grade. For instance, if I have indicated on a previous class session that I wanted numerical data next to each of your assignments, numbers 1 through 20, and it's still not there, obviously, that is going to affect your score. If you're playing from behind all semester and you're continually catching up, that is going to affect your score. If I look at something that is not factually accurate or something that is not consistent in terms of font style, paragraphing, all of the issues that I've been talking about during the term, that will affect your score. With all of this being said, I think I'm a pretty fair grader. And does it pass the smell test? Most of the work that you can see on my website is pretty good. Is it all perfect? Of course not. There's always room for improvement. I feel that way as a professor, and I want all of you to be that way as students. Never be satisfied. There's always room to improve. And that brings us to the final project, which will be worth 50 points, where you are, quote, report a hard or feature news story of your choice. This will be at the top of Google Blogger through a series of photographs, video clips, infographics, data visualization, or innovative visual method approved by the instructor and designed to foster journalistic ingenuity and creativity through unique storytelling imagery. Telling us some type of a news story visually that, in your view, is unique, creative, aesthetically pleasing. And then, of course, if you've been going on a regular basis, accessing the videos, which I can check in the grade book on Blackboard, then that's going to give you obviously 50 points for class participation. We go on a 90, 80, 70% basis. But at this point in the semester, if I click on your website and you're far behind or nothing is there, then obviously that will significantly impact your grade, because timeliness, as you're well aware, matters. And take a look at the work of all of your classmates in real time between now and the end of the semester, and notice how each of them have improved. And most of you have, in terms of the experimentation with the blog sites, with what you're doing with the writing, the paragraphing, the who, what, where, why, when of the lead sentences, creating your own voice so I can hear you in those opinion pieces. All of that really does matter when you are creating your own persona as a reporter, and you will have one in the long term as a media professional. And with that in mind, here we have the wild card, which will be due on Thursday. So just go ahead for the time being. Remember that the blog is an entity from assignments 1 through 20, and try to have a consistency all the way through. As I mentioned a moment ago, make sure that everything is numbered. Make sure there is nothing on there that cries out unprofessional. If there's something that needs to be tweaked, go ahead and do it. But make sure that all of those 20 assignments are done within a reasonably quick period of time. And that brings it back to me, because when we are looking at a number of items, including data visualization or infographics, or creating a short video, whether it be on YouTube or it could even be on TikTok, how can you create that into some type of a news story? Well, let's take a look at a couple of searches in this area. I want to show you a website which deals in this on a regular basis. It is called Visual Capitalist. And I also follow this particular organization on Twitter. It really is well done aesthetically and from a content standpoint as well in terms of its research. Let that website sink in for just a moment. It covers markets, technology, money, healthcare, energy, maps, mining, green, and featured companies. It also has special reports and also different channels. But the great thing about this, and I follow it on Twitter, look at the different platforms it's on: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. Scrolling through this, you'll notice that there are so many different stories that have visual connotations to them. One of the most difficult things to try to figure out from a visual perspective is economics. Who can understand the stock market if you're not a broker? And the great part about this website, Visual Capitalist, is that it takes something very complex and from a visual standpoint makes it much more easy to understand. I wanted to show you all of this data through a very slow scroll all the way down, and there are even more posts. Now let's go back up. So for, among other things, the best and worst pension plans by country. Let's take a look at this, a data visualization. As the world's population ages, which countries are the best equipped to support their older citizens and which ones are lagging behind? There are many different types of templates online for data visualization or infographics, and you can plug in whatever you deem appropriate if this was the style of visual journalism final project that you wanted to pursue. And here you can see how all of this data has been made into an infographic. And of course, we're all looking for the United States flag and where it is in terms of the index value. So if you're taking a look at this, According to the infographic provided and produced by Visual Capitalist, Denmark, Iceland, and the Netherlands have the top 3 pension systems according to this format. The United States is somewhere in the middle, along with Uruguay and the United Arab Emirates. And then down near the bottom, you've got Argentina, India, Korea, the Philippines, and Thailand with the lowest overall score. And that is the global pension format in terms of adequacy, sustainability, and integrity. And that is a breakdown with an index value of the pension rating system. Now, if I wanted to scroll back to where we were, and I'm doing this at random to show you how any type of story, if you're creative enough, can be made more visually interesting and understandable to an audience. So let's say you were into automobiles. This was published 2 weeks ago, the 35 vehicles with the longest production runs. Now this would fit under a feature story. The top 5 car models with the longest production runs are Chevy Suburban, 86 years, all the way to the far right-hand side to a Chevy Corvette at 68 years. And all of a sudden you can see the first Chevy Suburban in 1935 until 2021. And you can see the Volkswagen Beetle, the Jeep CJ, and those became popular because those were a staple of soldiers during World War II. Ford F-Series. We also have international brands, including different types of Volkswagen vans. The Toyota Land Cruiser, Mercedes, Toyotas, Peugeot, Renault, Jeep, and this list goes on and on. Now, this is a relatively simple graphic to put together because all you have to do is to put together a timeline and then go back and find a graphic of a particular vehicle from its first run until its most recent. So something like that is really helpful from an educational perspective. Now let's go back and take a look at one more. A lot of people may not understand crypto, but let's continue to move up. The richest women in America, rare earth elements, impact investing, building a better world. Let's take a look at the richest women in America in one graphic. This is as of a little more than a week ago. Who are the richest women in America? And this is a data visualization of the richest. And as you can see, it's not surprising that members of the Walton family would be among the richest. And I believe it is Alice Walton, who is the person responsible for Crystal Bridges in northern Arkansas, other kinds of philanthropic activities. Miriam Adelson, she is the wife of the late gentleman who, among other things, put together the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas. So you've got 68 billion from Alice Walton. You've got Steve Jobs' wife, of course, Steve Jobs from Apple. So you've got a member of the Walton family here, a member of the Walton family here. And if that name Kroenke sounds familiar, her husband is the owner of the Los Angeles Rams, moved them from St. Louis to LA, and also built a new stadium. The 10 youngest, notice that Rihanna is on the list. It really is fascinating from the data perspective to notice all of the folks who are billionaires starting here. And of course, these are just valuations. Elaine Wynn, the ex-wife of Steve Wynn of Las Vegas and worldwide casino fame, Oprah Winfrey at $3 billion. And then just moving back up, there are many familiar names, of course, including some of the youngest. Many familiar names on that list, as you're well aware. And then we go to the top, and that is what the website looks like, including cannabis prohibition in the United States, how we got to 8 billion people, cognitive biases that are warping your perception of reality, the geography of global literacy. Let's go ahead and dip into that one. In many of our classes, we have talked about visual literacy. We have talked about digital literacy. Literacy rate by age group around the world, 15 to 24, 65 plus. The big picture on literacy with the illiterate and illiterate world population. It's clear that from a high level, progress toward global literacy is being made. And that is all from just one website, Visual Capitalist. And we just scratched the surface looking at data that is related to that website. Well, what if we want to do a deeper dive into data visualization and how you can incorporate this into your news story? Now, remember, we haven't gotten to infographics yet, and we haven't looked at other class work going back to 2012. This link is called Data Visualization 2021, which is a Google search. And from this point, there are a number of videos that you could look at that describe data visualization. But I believe what we have right here, this 3-minute video from Best Proxy Reviews, really encapsulates the idea of data visualization as related, in our case, to news stories. What do you know about data visualization? If you are new to the topic, then be our guest in this article. We are going to be giving you a gentle introduction into the world of data visualization and discussing some of the popular data visualization tools in the market. Now, in this case, what I want to do is to scroll down to the video, make it full screen, and let you understand what data visualization is like. In our case, you can take these principles and apply them to news stories. Why do we use data visualization? There's a video, and here is another.
Data visualization is the graphical representation of information. Data visualization lies at the intersection of the fields of communication, information science, and design. The main advantage of data visualization is not that it makes data more beautiful, but that it provides insight into complex data sets by communicating their key aspects in more intuitive and meaningful ways. Data visualization has been identified as a key 21st century research skill. Simple forms of data visualization have been around for a long time. These include graphs, pie charts, and even maps. Computer technology has enabled analysis of text to produce graphical representations of prominent concepts as word diagrams.
The audio is not all that high, but I'll just go ahead and let this play for the time being. Notice how you could take something like this and incorporate it into your blog. When we have been examining different types of stories during the semester, you will remember that when we were looking at public records, particularly at the state or local level, there's a link available at Magnolia Reporter where you can go to the Columbia County Sheriff's database of sex offenders in Columbia County. And depending upon the color of the pinprick on that digital screen, those colors differentiate the level of sex offender. So what you're seeing here is one of the ways in which you can incorporate data into your particular document. In this case, we are down to the last 45 seconds. We'll pick up the audio, even though it's not all that loud. I'll try to make it as easily understandable as possible.
Population trends to be visualized. Gapminder also has a free desktop application that you can download for use during presentations.
No matter how hard I try, it's just not going to work, but I will let this play out. Where do your tax dollars go? Now, you could do something like this or put together a series of photographs, but it really does help to just try to think to yourself, what kind of story would I like to do for my final project where this might come in handy? And the video is just about through, so for the record, I'll go ahead and let it go to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And then I will scroll down to why do we use data visualization and see whether or not the audio here is a little bit louder. I think it is.
They say knowledge is power, but how do we make knowledge powerful? Especially when that knowledge comes in the form of data. Lots of data. How do we find the meaning? Tell the story. Share the story. Infographics, where data meets design. What makes good data visualization? Take a few seconds to count the sevens in this number set. How many were there? Not sure? Now try. A simple color change makes comprehension almost instant. Color is one of several pre-attentive attributes, like size, orientation, flicker. Visual clues that the human brain processes within 250 milliseconds. Now imagine that we're not looking for specific numbers, but patterns. We can use color to show correlation, size to show quantity, or orientation to show trends. And not just data. The power of design can be used to better communicate all sorts of information. Processes, hierarchy, anatomy, chronology. Better communication through innovation. Because your message is only as good as your ability to share it.
I'm going to go back and play a little bit of that video with the sound down.
They say no.
Because I just want you to think about some of the things that are brought up here. Many of you have already taken junior, senior level courses from me that include media presentations and position paper websites. Look at the ways in which you can use color to differentiate items. And in this case, what the narrator is talking about is using infographics and data visualization basically as interconnecting terms. Now notice what happens with the number 7. Watch the number 7 turn blue. Whenever you're putting together media presentations for me in those junior, senior level courses, the videos that you use, the video links are usually in some different color to differentiate it for easier understandability by an audience. Now, how can you do that for a final project related to news for easier comprehension? Think about all those stories we were just looking at from the Visual Capitalist website. Same thing applies here. How can you take any of the data points and make them, like you're noticing here, on any type of a chart, an easier way to incorporate visualization into a story? That graphic is something understandable. Those are Coke bottles. Many of you have seen that on cows, cutting up the different parts of the cow for different meats. Better communication through innovation. And there we're getting into the last few seconds. And that is from a website called Best Proxy Reviews. And even here, we're just scratching the surface. You could look at the news feed and find stories related to this, which we'll get to in a moment. Now, this is called Data Visualization 2021. Many different ways in which you could find materials, and including, I should indicate, as we come back to me for just a moment, what type of template would you want to use for data visualization or some type of infographic, because there are so many templates out there. In fact, if you went back into this class on Twitter a few years ago under the 2003 hashtag, you would find different types of links to infographics websites where you could incorporate whatever you thought was important from a graphical perspective and use that to highlight the news story. The next search I want to go to before we head to projects done by students in previous versions of this class, it's called News Articles with Infographics. That was the search term that I used. You'll recall when we were just at that other website, the second video dealt with data visualization and infographics as the same thing. If I wanted to click on the news feed, there is a website called Nature. Notice in this case, and I looked at a couple of these before class, Protein Vaccines 101 and Rising Temperatures, the week in infographics. And it's looking, among other things, at climate. And notice change in global mean surface temperature over the past 20,000 years. This is a demonstrable example of the temperature on Earth rising from 20 years ago. It also looks at carbon dioxide emissions, and it also looks at, quote, after a drop of more than 5% during the first year of the COVID-19 pandemic, global carbon emissions will rebound in 2021, according to researchers. And here you can see how that pandemic rebound is taking place. 1960, the CO2 emissions in billions of tons, as opposed to 2020. Notice that slight dip during the pandemic, and then it's coming back up. And then there's one more on protein vaccines versus COVID. Now, this one looks a little bit different, but it also shows you that if you've got the correct type of template, this is another way to tell a scientific story from a visual perspective. If I go back into the search, the second story that I find, also from Nature, quote, asteroid deflection and disordered diamonds, the week in infographics. This would look very familiar. If you were in a science classroom, this would be something that you could possibly see in a poster on a wall. Next year, quoting now, the double asteroid redirection test spacecraft will attempt to change the orbit of one asteroid that is circling another. How many movies or television shows have you seen, guys, where there was some type of danger to the Earth and some type of rocket went in orbit to deflect any type of asteroid or anything that might be potentially affecting the Earth, the orbit, and our lives? And something like this is really taking that science fiction aspect and putting it into action. And then directly underneath, the health effects of wildfire smoke. And here's another graph out unhealthy concentrations associated with a nearly 10% higher risk of respiratory death compared with good air quality. Those are just two news stories. And as you can see, there are many others that you could use that include COPD Awareness Month. China's Mars rover has amassed reams of novel geographic data. Combating COVID-19 misinformation, that would be an Indiana University news story. Here you have Nature is really the publication that is setting the pace in terms of any type of graphics representation of stories. Here you've got a professor's research supports use of infographics in messaging about science. So this would be a branch campus of the University of North Carolina, and this is someone who joined the faculty this year in mass communication, published the results of an experiment that tested news articles against infographics for conveying information about genetically modified food. And this was published in a journal called The Public Understanding of Science. So here you see the professor, and she is using it for an article called Visualizing Science, the Impact of Infographics on Free Recall, Elaboration, and Attitude Change for Genetically Modified Foods News. Now think about this. Here's a quote. Dr. Lee's study tested newspaper-style articles in the text-based experimental condition rather than educational materials per se. Now, why is something like this important? Here's the final paragraph, quote, Dr. Lee is currently working on a research study about the impact of message framing and visual types, infographics versus photos, on COVID-19 vaccination communication messages, hoping to improve attitudes towards the vaccine and increase the intention to get the vaccine among general audiences. So here you have a college professor in North Carolina who teaches mass communication, looking at infographics and whether utilizing that as opposed to just reading a story that is text-based is going to make people understand a story more clearly, which of course is the intent of this assignment. And there are all different kinds of stories that you can find here, including one from Visual Capitalist where we were at earlier, how to spot fake news, visualized in one graphic. So let's go back, even though this is earlier in the year. You've got misleading content, false connection, false content, imposter content, satire or parody. Some people don't know it's from The Onion, for instance, imposter content, manipulated content, and whether or not something is fake news. Now look how big that infographic is. And there's more down here. Supporting sources. What are the experts? What's the text? Date, the information, the author, bias, URL, the source. All of this really does matter. You're well aware, I've talked about this in so many of my classes, that many people will read something online or watch a video and think because it has the look and feel of real news that it actually is something authentic, when in fact it could be mock news, or it could be something that is misinformation or disinformation. Let me go to the BBC. This is called Infographic BBC Future. Just wanted to show this to you because this is a perfect example of taking news and making it more visually interesting. This is, again, BBC Future. What's your secret nationality? With an infographic. Humanity's most irrational fears. When should you have your first coffee? I think for most of us, it can't be soon enough. What happens when you sleep? Infographic. This is fascinating. Take a journey through the sleeping mind. Infographic. What happens in the phases of sleep? Do you remember your dreams? Stage 3, Stage 2, Stage 1, REM sleep, and of course, you're awake. And how do your sleep habits change during the night? Do you twist and turn? Do you remember your dreams? And that's fascinating. Now look at that again from bottom to top. The infographic was produced by one BBC staff member and the text by someone else. Does everyone sleep 8 hours? Is everyone sleeping in those stages or being in REM sleep? It really is an interesting thought process for anyone who might have sleep apnea or someone who does not sleep for 8 hours. How many college students do you know who sleep for 8 hours? Are superbugs deadlier than you? I'm not going to click on this one. Do Brits really have bad teeth? That's always been the story, and it's really unfair. How many alien worlds exist? The ultimate limits of science with infographics. How big is space? And then we'll bring it back up to the top. So that's BBC Future. And this, if I can click on it, news articles with infographics. And those are visuals from 2019, the year in visual stories and graphics, different types of infographics. If I wanted to change this to 2021, then maybe you would get more relevant data in the news link, or possibly something with videos, including multiple sclerosis, infographic statistics for 2021, 8 graphic design trends for 2022. You should always be thinking of that when you are putting your blogs together, because The visual perspective obviously is going to matter a lot. That's why it is the final project in a news writing and reporting class for me. But what have students done in the past? From 2012, the first time I taught this course with the new mass media emphasis in mass communication, to 2020, last year. Let's see. We will go to Google Drive. All of this is available on my website. The first place that I want to go is down towards the bottom, just before we get to the graphics of me, which is video A from almost exactly 3 months ago. And that's when we began our journey on Blackboard Ultra. But I wanted to go here first. The SAU Celebration of Lights and Christmas Parade from fall 2012. At this point, I was asking students for the final project to place it in the context of a media presentation. And this is McIntyre. At the time, digital cinema was one of the options for the mass comm degree within our department. And what he decided to do was to shoot the Christmas parade, which in 2021 is scheduled in 48 hours. And, quote, after the Christmas parade, the campus lights up in a holiday festival. And he provided a link to a YouTube video that he had produced. Now, I want to have everyone pay close attention to the editing of this story because it would be a feature. The first thing that he did was to create an audio track of everything from the evening, including the band. But it's not one straight audio track. He takes a variety of different audio bits and puts them together, then finally lays video over it. So it's a nice blend. And I believe this opens in a different window. So I will get it ready and make the audio available. And now I will put the link on the screen. This is the SAU Christmas Parade and Lighting Ceremony. We will start this, make it full screen. This was 9 years ago for this course. It's well done.
Somewhere between the Muppet and the Disney Christmas Carol, I would put it. On the Disney side.
So what about thumbs up, like?
And that's the end of the video. Now let me mute it and just replay a little bit of that without making it full screen. He explains what the video is about. It is basically a feature video. Whenever you're shooting anything like this, you're obviously going to shoot a lot more than you're going to need. So from an editing standpoint, you always want to make sure there's much more if you decide to produce a short video on YouTube. If you want to do something on TikTok, obviously, it would be slightly different. But that was from the fall semester of 2012. Now let's go back to Google Drive. We will pick up where we left off. This is what we were doing 9 years ago, just providing a link, and then I could post it on the website. There are 4 videos that are back to back to back to back that I want to show you. The second video, this one, was 2012 from Kenneth McIntyre. This is from J.W. Missenheimer, which was 2 years later. This is SAU homecoming coverage from 2014. As you're well aware, whenever you're on my website, and I can do it on Google Drive, I can make these slides bigger, but I'm not going to. Again, in the format of a PowerPoint that I turn into a PDF, and I wanted to make sure that there was a link, like Kenneth had, with the Christmas parade of 2012, with the homecoming video of 2014. So I click on the link, and this will also open in a different window. JW at the time was doing work for the SAU communications department. And I wanted to show you what his video looks like. Similar to what you just saw, this would fit under the category of feature news. I have it paused. I will play it, make it full screen, and this one is also in the category, time-wise, of about 2 minutes. Here we go. Because JW worked, it looks like this is going to cycle back into another video. Let me pause it there for just a moment. Because JW worked with the Communications Center during the time he was taking the course, now let me do the same thing I did with Kenneth. I'll mute the audio and just play a little bit of the video, and you get a flavor or a feel for the different types of visuals that have the connotation of homecoming week. And it goes by very, very quickly. It's hard for me to believe that the 2012 Christmas parade is already 9 years ago. It's hard for me to believe that this homecoming video from 2014 was produced 7 years ago. Creating visuals that matter, creating visuals that have some type of a feature news context in each of these instances works very well. Now that brings us to the third of the 4 videos that were produced before we went to blogs, and there are others, but these are representative examples. I want to go back to Google Drive. We'll go through the same process. So there is the link to JW's project. The 2 videos that we've seen so far have both been roughly in the area of 2 minutes. And we will click out of that. The third video I want to show you is from Clint Winters. And Clint has been very successful. For a time, I don't know if he was still there, but he was doing some work at WXIA TV in Atlanta, and we're friends on Facebook, but I'll need to check to see where he is. I don't know where Kenneth McIntyre is today, the 2012 Celebration of Lights Christmas video. JW, now, after he got his Mass Comm degree, is working for the Arkansas Waterways Commission. And Clint has been doing professional television work. Here is a link to his project. And this is interesting. He said, hey, Professor Reppert, I'm going to a Kanye West concert in Dallas. Can I go ahead and use that for my video? And I said, absolutely. So let me click on this, get the video ready. And this one is just about 90 seconds. Show you what his looks like. Kanye West at American Airlines Center. And here we go.
Who are you to sing? Outside are you? No.
Like everything was alright in the fight he tried to put up. The type of bullet that stuck and put against his will.
Now, whenever I play that again, I'll do the same thing that I've done with the previous 2 videos. I'll leave it that way and just let it play for a while. And he'd indicated that he was going to be shooting this off of his cell phone. So the first thing that you notice is the quality of the video is not as great, but it does give you, again, a feature story insight as to what it's like to be backstage at a concert, or backstage, in this case, from the context of people waiting in line to buy merchandise. Budweiser, apparently a corporate sponsor of the concert, but it's fascinating to see from this perspective, and this was from the fall semester of 2013. So you've seen 3 different classes so far, and they got there early because the arena is not filled. Really interesting to see what it is like in terms of the excitement, or really in this case, the anticipation of why people enjoy attending concerts. And in that case, it is Kanye. Let's go to the 4th example of a video that was produced for this class. We've seen examples from 2012, 2013, in this case with Clint, and 2014 with JW, but this was from a digital journalism major, I should say a digital cinema major. However many takes it takes. And this is Cole Sherwood from 7 years ago, again, in the context of a media presentation with a link to the video. Click here to see behind the scenes looks at the trials and tribulations of this SAU student's most recent film. In the event the previous link does not work, and it was interesting, there's his title slide, but he was concerned that this link may not work, so he provided a second one, and this is the one that I clicked on before class to make sure that it worked. Now this one is 4 minutes, but it's fascinating because if you've ever been behind the scenes of any kind of a professional shoot or a college shoot, much more footage is going to be taken than you need, especially the first 2 videos that you saw with the Christmas parade and then with the homecoming video, the first from 2012, the second from 2014. There's always going to be mistakes that are made, sometimes bloopers, sometimes unintentional, but this is a 4-minute video. I had indicated that whenever people were putting these together, it should be in the area of 5 minutes or less. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. However many takes it takes. And perfection sometimes can be a fleeting thing.
Roll. Okay. Yeah, let them get by. Hey, am I rolling? No. Action. Step back. Let's do it one more time. When you say where the hell am I? I know you're saying to yourself just a little bit louder because these leaves. This is gonna be picking it all up. All right, ready? Here comes the line I was talking about.
Is there anybody out there?
Cut. Of course, there's a car coming down the hill right when he turns his head around. All right, get this 3/4 angle. Low shot. Yeah. I mean, keep the mic really up since I'm. Actually, you can stay ahead of Tom, actually, and you'll be fine. On action, put the cigarette in your mouth. Yeah, and then. Oh my God! Keep rolling. I don't want to walk up to his car. One time my friend walked up to a car and the cop was just like, stay back! So I'm just gonna wait.
What are y'all filming?
I'm in advanced digital cinema, and so I'm making a film right now. The working title's just called Tom Road.
Blah, 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 do it. That's kind of what we were checking on.
Okay.
Good to go.
All right, thank you, sir. You have a good one. All right, Tom, I know you've been running a lot today, but let's do it one more time. That was perfect. Put this blue bag. Face this way. Well, crap. You can hear that. Keep rolling. You're gonna start looking around, okay? For this voice. Action. Come on, Art. Give me a break.
I know who they think this is.
Right. All right, still rolling audio. Cars! ready. As soon as this car gets over that hill, we're launching into it and getting this shit done. We've got one more page to go and we're done. Smile. That really didn't happen.
I think you know. I think you know.
Tom, we just need one take, man.
Get her out. She was pregnant with your son. Find her and your son. And take care of your family.
Alright, no, that was my fault. I was trying to do this dramatic zoom in, but it was too melodramatic.
Hello. Say it again. Hello. Stop making that.
If I land in front of the camera, I'm clearly the best candidate for promotion at this rate. It's almost a given. Well, essentially, if I land in Farming Town, I'll be able to get the promotion at this rate. That looks like it's going to happen.
That's excellent, honey. Oh, and speaking of good news, I received a letter in the mail today.
No, we're good.
Good.
Cut.
Now, what I like about that, I'll mute it like everything else and then just play it from the beginning. I really like the fact that putting something like this together as a humorous version of a feature story, anybody who has been involved in productions of this type, as I indicated before I played this, knows that things will not go smoothly. They don't anticipate a car in a scene and then a car drives by. They don't anticipate talking to someone who is in law enforcement and they have to explain very politely that they are part of a Southern Arkansas University class and they are out shooting a film. The person right here in the plaid shirt who keeps scratching his belly is Thomas Cahill, a mass communication major in mass media who graduated in 2018. And he is currently, Thomas right there, in graduate school studying mass comm related courses in the state of Kentucky. It's really interesting to look at all of those videos, and that's why I wanted to get to them, because some of you might be thinking on your short list about the creative production of a news story, whether hard or feature, that could be on TikTok. But if you wanted to do something like that with a YouTube platform, that would be okay too. It really depends upon what your interests are, but I'm trying to show you examples of everything in terms of the years that I have taught this course. And I wanted to go back to Google Drive for one visualization from circa 2012 or 2013. And this representation is photographic, but it's from someone many of you may recognize on campus. This is Jacob Pumphrey, and it is the Heart of Texas Bowl in 2012. Jacob, who is the Director of Athletic Communications at SAU, got his mass comm degree from Southern Arkansas University, the same courses that you're taking, in 2014. And he was a member of the football team when it went to the Heart of Texas Bowl, which unfortunately it lost, but he put together a photographic retrospective. So if you wanted to tell a story visually, this is how he did it 9 years ago. That's his uniform. This is a chronological perspective from more than 20 slides, 20 photos of the event. And as you can see, time moves along very quickly. I hate to do that to you guys when you're watching this, the barbecue shots, but also music available. And there is the venue for the Heart of Texas Bowl. And there is the name on the locker. And I'm guessing Jacob probably took that as a memento. The team getting ready for the game. And there is the roster, all of the photos. Now let me take that and scroll to the top, because what Jacob did, unfortunately, he didn't put the score of the game up there because the Mule Riders lost, but this was something that told the story from a sports perspective of SAU's travels to a bowl game with a football team. And even though all of these 4 videos are together, from this standpoint, now let's just go to the bottom because this is what you'll see. Today's video will be V. But starting right here and moving to the top, you've got all different kinds of creative examples of 2012, 2013, and 2014 projects, including the Eggnog Mile, the SAU Feeding Frenzy. You had someone who celebrated their 22nd birthday. You even have Making Magnolia Blossom, which was a citywide beautification project taking place 7 years ago. And what we're going to be looking at now are examples of individuals from 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, and 2015, which is the first year that we were putting together blogs for this course. And I want to make sure that I've got all of these in the correct order. What have students in the blog era, 2015 to 2020, done as representative examples of visual journalism? Now we're going to work, as we often do in this class, in reverse chronological order. The website for Sydney Waiter is going to be first from last year. The life of a photographer. And this is what she puts together. 1, 2, 3, 4 different batches of photos. Throughout these past few weeks or so, my photography business has been quite busy. It's not unusual for people such as Sydney to take their photographic expertise and make a little bit of money on the side. So she decided to utilize that for her final project in visual journalism. Something that I believe proves this is a shoot I did 2 weeks ago, where it was warm enough for me and a client to get in the water for some amazing photos. And this shows you what she did, putting together a family. Working with couples is probably one of my favorite things to do as a photographer. She's taking all of this information and working it into a narrative, something I think is very important in an interactive era. And the font style is large enough so it and the photos will be easily readable and viewable on either a phone or on a computer. One of my personal favorites about doing this job is it combines many of my passions. I love when clients ask if I work with pets and could include them in the shoot. The best thing about being a photographer is meeting new people and getting your name out there while having so much fun at the same time. However, I'm extremely sad that this is my last semester taking courses from Professor Reppert. I guess what they say is true. Time does fly when you are having fun. That is the end of her project. As you can see, the Google Blogger icon is a giveaway. So let's go from bottom to top. You saw all of the photos, and when you click on her name, that's what her website looks like. Whether it includes her visual journalism project, her classmate blog critique, her news app critique, the opinion pieces, you get the idea that this has the, and you know this mantra by now, the look of a professional news blog. Let's take a look at one other student project from the fall of 2020. You've seen her website on numerous occasions during the term. This is Carly Hale. And she's looking at some of the work that she did in her advanced photography course and her film course. Photography, videography has always been a part of my life, but these two courses have taught me there is more to pictures than just perfect lighting and great composition. And she has been, as she indicates here, obsessed with storytelling. It's creative, challenging, and just altogether fun. I was blinded by my own pride of books that I couldn't see how taking words and making pictures actually was hard. That foreshadowing through motion or various scenes actually took creative thinking and proper editing. Below is my final series in photography. I chose to show the relationship change and tradition has in our lives. This is a 19-second compilation video of some of the photographs that Carly took in her advanced photography course. And it also shows that perspective matters. Not everyone is going to be shooting right off of their shoulder. Put the camera on the ground. Put the camera on a fence post. Play that one more time. Notice that perspective changes depending upon the camera angle. And it's a creative way to put together, in this case, what would amount to be a feature story and opinion all in one final project. And then we move on. Here are some of the other graphics that she provides showing how changes of color are going to make your perspective change. Imagine that being a black and white Civil War photo. Imagine that with a medium camera. Imagine something like this with a high quality camera, or you've got the opportunity to clean it up through digital colorization. And here are all of the visuals that are incorporated with her project. Now, I think that's her on a skateboard. I'm pretty sure that's her, but don't quote me. What happens when we learn something new? Change in generations, change in interest, going against stereotypes. Traditionally, thinking is not always the best. Like how I was, it makes you closed-minded and unopened to change. Thankfully, by witnessing a different way to tell a story through pictures, I was given the choice to adjust my lens perspective on the matter. It has taught me new things and has grown me as an artist. I am truly thankful for the experience and hope to encourage you to never be limited by the safety of tradition, but to embrace change and be willing to adjust your lens on some matters. That's why I've been telling you that 10 years ago, whenever I'm teaching Introduction to Mass Communication, everyone before and after class is on their computers trying to see whether or not they have any likes on Facebook. In 2021, people are on TikTok, people are on Instagram, people are on Snapchat. If you have nieces, nephews, younger brothers or sisters, the formats that they're using socially are going to be the methodologies by which we find out about news in the future. So using something like this as a final project from Carly, including what she indicated at the bottom with going against stereotypes, is a unique way to, as she says, adjust the lens. As you noticed with the project from Sydney, this is what her website looks like. And many of these you've seen before. I won't go down any further than that. But there is a consistency to the way everything, in her case and Sydney Waiter's, is put together. That brings us back to the fall of 2019. I've got two examples of visual projects from each class. The next individual you've seen on many occasions during this class on the course videos, and it is Christy Glass. Here's what she did for her visual journalism final 2 years ago. The SAU Ag Club celebrates Halloween right. Agriculture students were busy preparing games and activities to create a spooky night for the children of Magnolia. And that, of course, is Boo at the Barnyard. And notice how she really does well create an ongoing visual narrative that incorporates her text. The visuals just aren't up there for the sake of wallpaper purposes. They are telling a story. Now, in this format, whenever I get close with the video or make it bigger, it automatically recycles to the top of the story. So I'm going to wait for a moment before we click on any of these. The Ag Club showed their perseverance and got the party started again within 10 minutes in the Ag building. Apparently there was a rain delay. The sheep were led around to the back of the building and kept under the awning so they wouldn't get wet, and the petting zoo could continue. So you had a lot of activities that were kid-friendly at Boo in the Barnyard 2 years ago. And look at the kids dressed up for the festivities. Then when the people started to head out, the weather decided to give us a little treat, a double rainbow. It was the perfect way to end an unconventional Boo at the barnyard. And there is the double rainbow. And that's a great shot. And of course, remember, that's from the perspective of the Agri building. So to the left is the rental center. In the center is the art building. Then you've got the tower. And then over here would be somewhere over there are going to be other buildings on that side of campus just in front of Overstreet. Now let's go ahead and move that back. And that's what I was indicating. With this format, it always recycles to the front. So this was the story of Boo at the Barnyard with the unintended rain delay, but she's telling the story very creatively, and she incorporates a video at the end. Now that was really well done. And it really is an appropriate way to finish off this project. We'll wait for it to recycle. And as we did with the videos from 2012, 13, 14, and 15, I'll just leave it right here and play it and keep the music down. There are many online platforms that you're well aware, and some that are even built into whatever computer that you have, that can take digital photos and automatically, as you can see, zoom in, zoom out, pan left, pan right, and then you can take all different kinds of generic music that is royalty-free online and incorporate that into a video. It doesn't take all that long. There are many automatic platforms on which something like that can be produced. That pumpkin bowling shot is great because it shows you that the rain just messed up everybody's plans, but they took advantage of the occasion. I'm going to go ahead and let that play entirely all the way through because it shows you how you can take photographs and give them life just through any of the software platforms that you have. If you've ever seen the Civil War series on public broadcasting produced about 30 years ago by documentarian Ken Burns, he took all of these black and white photos from the Civil War and basically through a technology not that dissimilar than this, made it into a real world experience. That's a great way to finish, by the way. And that was produced 2 years ago. Quote, I created a YouTube video for the pictures taken during Boo at the Barnyard below. It is also available at this link. So all of these photos and others were incorporated into her visual journalism final. So that was really, really well done. Oftentimes, as you've seen, you can do something serious, or if you want to do something that is feature-based, that's appropriate as well. Let's go to the next one I want to show you is Katie Graham. Katie decided for her final project to use it as an homage to someone whom she really believes is one of her, is not only an icon, but someone who is a role model. So she's got 8 different graphics for a workshop from an individual that she admires as a photographer and a designer. Now, Katie is on the left, and the person that she really respects and admires, the workshop that she went to, that person is on the right-hand side. Here is a graphic of her boyfriend, now her husband, who is obviously proposing to her. And you see the happy couple. So she's telling the story called Jump In with Joe. This past weekend, she had the opportunity to go to a photography workshop with Joe Johnson. And those were some of the photos that you saw. The check-in, the fact that she's based in Fayetteville, something from her Instagram account from teaching the course, and there she is again. A little while later, Joe posted that signups for the workshop were live and that people could begin to sign up. And there you can see she got a free seat in the workshop that was going to cost $1,000. So she got really, really lucky. And that, of course, is something that she was talking about regarding her engagement. And there's the workshop with a link in Fayetteville at the Osage House with a link. Hard to believe this is already 2 years ago. And here you have all different kinds of photos from the workshop. Now, again, that's Katie on the left and Joe on the right. Quote, I came away with a lot of beautiful pictures that I will get to keep in my portfolio, and I'm so excited to share them and to continue pursuing this career path of mine I've been pursuing for so many years. Here are more photographs. Her boyfriend of 6 years, surprised in the middle of photo shoots. And like I said, they are married. And here's the moment.
Perfect timing, sun is shining, nothing more I need, yeah. If you feel.
Now let's go ahead and play that one more time. We'll keep it full screen. Of the happy moment. If they've been going together for 6 years, this was obviously anticipated. And there's the ring. The happy moment. And like I said, they are now married. And congratulations to the happy couple. As we're all aware, every kiss begins with K. He bought it at Jared. Or maybe not, but that's what her website looks like. Oh, and there's a video here too. I'm going to mute the audio for the time being because one of the things that you can incorporate if you want to do something on Instagram is to put in Instagram videos, and that's what this is. And it shows you some of the activities that were taking place at this event. And it's not unusual for a lot of people who are interested in wedding photography or photographing special events, as you saw with the Sydney Waiter website. If you've got a good eye and a quality computer and can bring a unique perspective to things, this type of workshop would come in very handy. Let's go back. We'll pop up the audio in just a moment. Unfortunately, the audio on Blackboard Ultra, it's better than the traditional Blackboard, but it's still not perfect. So let's pick up the end of this.
Working with Joe has been so much fun. I can already tell a difference from the first day to the second day how much I've learned, and honestly, like, she has exceeded all of my expectations that I had going into this. You rock, Joe.
She's just really boosted my confidence and allowed me to realize that I'm a much better photographer than I ever thought I was.
I've made so many connections with these girls, and I'm excited. I highly recommend doing this. Take the money, invest in yourself, and jump in with Joe.
I'm living my best life, living my best life.
It's a great marketing tool, I'll say that much. Now let's go ahead and make this smaller. Now again, that's the Instagram video. Just for the record, this is here's the bottom of the final journalism project, including the video that we saw. That's the proposal video that was shot off a phone. And then there is the Instagram video, Katie with Joe. And then you've got a lot of marketing of the event, but Katie does an expert job of weaving in all of the social media posts with her copy. And that certainly is one way to go about it. And that's what her website looks like when you just click on her name. Now, we've only gone through 2 years. We still have quite a few to go. So if this class runs a little bit long, that's okay. But I think it's just really important that you understand that creativity, when it comes to news writing, reporting, in this case, mostly feature material, is going to be quite relevant for no matter what you do as a career. This is Mary Alice Cole. And this is the other project that I wanted you to look at from 2018. Actually, the first, we've looked at Sydney Waiter and Carly Hale from 2020, Christy Glass and Katie Graham from 2019, and this is Mary Alice Cole, the first of two, from 2018. And she decided to use the iPhone screen recording ability. So let's click on Read More. And this is what's fascinating. She's using a style that is very similar to what Trey is doing this semester in this course. The screen recording is one take on how I edit pictures. Now notice what she does here. Look at this. I'm going to leave it that size intentionally. She's doing all of this on her phone. Now this goes on for quite some time. I don't know whether there's audio. Don't think there is. I'll leave it in this format for just a moment, and then I'll come back and make it a little bit bigger. But you can imagine what it would be like to do all of this recording and editing and tweaking on your phone. Now let's go. I won't play the whole video, but let's go ahead and make this bigger. There's a slight bit of pixelation, but it's not too bad. If I'm doing something like this, I'm always using my computer because I don't trust my ability to do it on a phone, but Mary Alice is so expert at this that you can see all of the tricks of the trade that she's using. And did you notice that? More than 7,000 photos, more than 1,000 videos that she's recorded. Now again, we're only halfway through. How you look on social media is arguably more important than how you look in real life. Your image on your social media is analyzed by peers, family members, and your future employer. And I'm just going to let that video play. There is a fine line between editing your pictures too much and not editing your pictures enough. Further in the paragraph, she says, quote, "You can see at the first of the video I have red lipstick on. In the original picture, I did not have any lipstick on. When the app added the lipstick, you could not really tell the difference." Video still playing. Look at all the tricks of the trade she's using here. One of the things that I've done is go to a website called MyHeritage, which can bring life back to older photos or older Polaroids and make them look more realistic. The one thing I've noticed with some of the artificial intelligence, whenever you're using this technology, and I'll just make it bigger because it's almost at the end, is your eyes don't necessarily look the same when you go through this technology. If you get really tight on your eyes, it doesn't make you cross-eyed, but the appearance that you have is not necessarily the same. Notice now, and I started playing this video, and this is really something into itself. There's no time code on this, but it really is fascinating. There it is. It's 3 minutes. Didn't notice that at the outset. Let's go ahead and play that at least a little bit of one more time so you can see. The amount of copy that she has here is not all that long, but what she's put together with this video really does tell an interesting visual story, which is why your final project can really be anything that you want. This almost amounted to a short video with a couple of paragraphs worth of commentary. When you click on the website for Mary Alice, this is what you see. We'll go down to about assignment 15 or 16, but this is the format that she uses with the read more down to entertainment or popular culture. The next 2018 project I want to show you is more along the lines of data visualization, and it is sports related. This is Colby Clinton. Colby Clinton is a sports fan, and in this case what he is doing is a statistical analysis in 5 different graphics of Aaron Rodgers. You can do anything you want to do. This is your world. He is quoting, of course, the late painter Bob Ross, who's well known for not only his hairstyle, but his public broadcasting television program in the 1990s. But this was a statistical analysis breaking down Aaron Rodgers' numbers during his career. And he's also got 3 different links down here at the bottom. Upon examination, it would appear that Rodgers does perform better in the second half of the season if that season occurs in an even year. And then there is his wild card, also related to sports. Mike McCarthy, of course, now with the Cowboys. Classmate blog critique, news app critique, opinion, and we looked at this in class. What was he doing for the local issue, the city of Conway? So let's go back up to the top. So in this case, he doesn't have the read more. Everything cascades down in reverse chronological order, and that's the wild card, of course, and then up here on top, the statistical analysis of Aaron Rodgers. Which brings us to the fall semester of 2017. Shaughnessy Mize, I hated to lose her. Her situation was unique in the respect that her fiance was in the military and he was leaving to go to Virginia. And this was the last thing that Shaughnessy did before she followed her fiance to Virginia, the state in which she was going to continue her work in mass communication. But Shaughnessy, similar to what you saw from J.W. Mistenheimer, was doing some work for University Communications. And they produced an interesting video for the holiday season of 2017, which included drone video photography. You'll recall in class recently, I talked about how you could incorporate drone video technology. And I believe this opened in the same window. Let me check. It did. Let me make this full screen. At the time, Shaughnessy was working with the team at the university in the communications department, and this is what they came up with, and I will play this in its totality twice.
3, 2, 1.
I have to start over again. Now let me do that one more time, start it and make it full screen because it wasn't showing up. For some reason, whenever I do this, Facebook will not allow me to go full screen in the same way that we would watch it on YouTube. So I am not going to tempt fate. Even though I'd like to make this full screen, I'm not going to. I'll just go ahead and play it this way.
Three, two, one.
Very good in training their personnel and their students. They came to the substation, they met with their son, they told us that they would not let him come. We have, in a juvenile, we have to get permission from.
What you're noticing is there was a school shooting in Michigan today, and Facebook initially was not allowing me to go back to Shaughnessy's website. But I do want to play that video one more time, even though it won't go full screen. But it shows you the creativity that all of you have in putting together a visual journalism final, because the storytelling ability, the combination of the visuals, the music, the drone video, and the Santa hat on the SAU logo is very well done.
Three, two, one.
Bell takes the snap, throws across the middle.
And that is what Shaughnessy's website looks like. Very professional, nice photographic theme right at the top. But we still have more websites to examine. That was the first from 2017. Now I'm going to look at someone who is on her way to graduate school. This is Jamia Evans. And for her project 4 years ago, and I'm just going to scroll through this relatively quickly, you get the idea. But these are the graphics that she decided to incorporate. And there's the little guy. Look how cute he is. It was the week before finals, and just when I thought life was falling through my fingers, my best friend goes into labor. And as you can see, there is a photo of her friend in labor. And I've met that little boy, Legacy. I can remember the young lady in question bringing him to class, and I've seen him in person. He's a cute little guy. But there's Legacy. The first two videos were taken with the Snapchat camera, and they were posted to my Snapchat for others to view. And here is a link, and I believe this is to a birth video. Let's check this out. It's opening in a different window. And this is of Legacy being born.
So it's almost 8 o'clock in the morning, and we may be in action. All right. It is 4:49. She's reached 9 centimeters. It's about time to have this baby. Let me see if I can focus in more. So you ready, Mom? You ready to do this? I ain't gonna lie, I'm not ready.
There he is.
There he is. There he is.
Yeah, come on, there he comes, baby. There
you go.
Come on, baby. Look at him.
Look at him. Look at him. Here he is. There's the head. There's the head.
My baby.
Stretch your legs out, let them rest.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Now, I want you to think, and I'll mute the audio again. I want you to think about the creativity that was used in the production of this video. You've got the graphic, got the cell phone video here. You've got mom getting ready to give birth. You've got graphics on the screen. And then whenever the baby is coming out, you've got a tight shot of mom and the nurse. These are moments that will not come back, and it's very, very special. So you can imagine how everyone feels. Jamia, as the student, shooting this after 10 hours of labor, incorporating graphics for storytelling ability. And in this case, changing the perspective, so now it's a quality full screen video, 25 minutes worth of pushing, and then all of a sudden, the baby comes out. Let's pick up the audio.
Look at him. Look at him. Here he is. There's the head. There's the head.
My baby.
Stretch your legs out, let them rest.
Oh my goodness.
And his appearance in the world is certainly being heard. And there he is. Cute little guy. Legacy. That allows the creativity to really flow, because Jamia did a really good job there, and that certainly could be considered a new story in and of itself. But let's go back to her website before we move on, and we will get through. This will be a long class period, but I think it's important. So here's her website. That was the link. Notice the color changed whenever we clicked on it. And she doesn't have a lot of copy here. She's just setting up the video, and that's fine. Don't feel like you have to write War and Peace for a visual journalism final, because it allows you the creativity to do whatever you want. And then we get to Jessica Pendleton, who at the time was working as an air personality in El Dorado. And JJ graduated in the spring of 2018. And here are some of the photos that she provided as part of her copy. Working at an El Dorado radio station as an air personality, also going around the community and doing different types of special events and promotions. But I think that really helps visualize the story. This is what her website looks like. Radio behind the scenes. Power 96 studio. The Eagle, the recording center. There are a number of radio stations and radio studios all in the same complex right when you get into El Dorado. And this is Noel Mark Broadcasting. And that's everything that she put together. It's ironic, of course, that as the years go by, even when you're doing classmate blog critiques, sometimes the videos don't always show up on the screen. But as you can see, JJ, very talented in terms of being a radio personality, and there was her sidekick on the morning show, and she was doing that all the way through her time as a student at SAU. And you've seen Jamia's website before, so I didn't go through anything beyond the visual journalism final, but you get the idea that websites are going to change during the years, which now brings us back 5 years to the fall semester of 2016, and this is Ariel Little. And what Ariel decided to do was a photographic retrospective involving fraternities and sororities. And these are the graphics that she put together. Some of them are screenshots from websites that have been edited, but it is, quote, becoming a brother of Alpha Phi Omega. And she's got her text in here as well. Alpha Phi Omega is based on leadership, friendship, and service. And there are some of the community service activities, including serving breakfast at the homeless shelter, volunteering at the Boys Club, and there are other links. Let's go through those now from back to front. Volunteering, serving breakfast to homeless, celebration of lights, my link and I, my brothers and I, and then all different kinds of photos. And I believe that is Ariel's daughter. I think that's Brooklyn. That goes back 5 years, but she's a cute little girl. And there is our probate, and there you have more photos dealing with the event itself. And this is what her website looks like, including her wild card, her classmate blog critique, where she was looking at someone who transferred from SAU for purposes of doing more digital cinema work, and there's the news app critique, and you get the idea. So that's what a blog looked like 5 years ago. Notice as time goes on, they get more sophisticated. And now we're going to look at Dylan Word from 2016. He went on to earn a master's degree in sport management at Henderson State. And here's what he decided to do, and I included this for a reason. Occasionally people will say, can I experiment with a podcast? And that's actually what Dylan did here. Here is a graphic from his final project, and you can see that he's at a radio station in Camden, and he sat down with his friend, and by the way, that's Dylan on the right, his friend on the left. They wanted to talk about the NFL, the AFC and NFC championship games, Super Bowl 50, which of course the Denver Broncos won. And he is a big fan, Dylan is, of Peyton Manning. And this is a link to the podcast where they're looking at the upcoming playoff picture. And is that open? Okay, it is opening in the same window. Here we've got two different podcasts, but this is the one that he produced specifically for the final project in this course. Let's dip in for about 30 or 45 seconds.
All right, welcome to episode 1 of D-Word Sports. I'm here with my good friend Taylor May.
You somehow drug me along, and I'm doing this for some
Hey,
weird reason.
you know,
I'm hoping to get lunch out of it.
Hey,
Anyway, I'm here.
And today we're going to talk about NFL football. We're going to talk about the playoffs, who we think is going to win each division, who's going to win the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, and who we think will get to the Super Bowl and eventually win it. So Taylor, let's look at the first division. And it actually has your beloved Miami Dolphins in it, the AFC East right now. The Patriots are leading that division.
Well, the Dolphins are totally going to win that.
Oh, yeah, they're
By
going
the time
to
we want to do like 4 coaches, I mean, we're totally going to win.
Tannehill's going to lead them to on like a big charge, and Brady's going to break his leg again. I mean, of course, Patriots are going to lock that one up.
So we have now looked. This is the first final project that we're looking at from and listening from the fall semester of 2015. That's why the names are a little bit different. We were experimenting. It wouldn't look that way today, but that's Dylan's final project where he's setting up the blog because his final project is sports-based and it is primarily audio. But now here is the last blog of the day that we'll look at from 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, and now 2015. This is Forrest Pierce. And Forrest is currently in graduate school studying mass communication at UCA. He wants to be a filmmaker. And I wrote him a letter of recommendation. This is Boo at the Barnyard 2015. You'll recall earlier that we were looking at Boo in the Barnyard from 2019, which was Christy Glass and her visual journalism final. But what was done 6 years ago? Let me pause it. Let me turn up the audio. And for some reason, this is opening in the same window where in some occasions, as you're well aware, they are opening in different windows. So let me make this full screen once I begin to play.
It's my first time ever seeing this show. Yeah.
All right, roll.
Remember what Sydney Waiter said in her blog from just last year, how time goes by very quickly, and she was doing that from the perspective, and I'll mute the audio here as well, of being a graduating senior, and those photographs really tell a story. Well, it's the same thing here with Forrest 6 years ago. How has the campus changed in those 6 years? Because this serves as an unintentional historical document. Because 6 years, there's a lot of changes in campus, a lot of changes in personnel. The kids that you see are 6 years older. They might look at this video, might not even realize it exists until someone was made aware that Forrest shot this as a project 6 years ago, whether it's the bowling or the animals or the candy or the get-ups. Something like this serves as a nice document for a news story. All of the examples that you've been looking at today, and I'm going to pause this before it actually gets to 105. It really does show you all of the different varieties and interests that students have. Keeping in mind that at the beginning of class, we were looking at infographics and data visualization. What types of materials could you incorporate for a serious or hard news story? But a lot of the stuff that we're looking at here is feature-based, including videos, some with minimal text, and we even had a podcast or photographic perspectives. So the bottom line for all of you when it comes to your final project in visual journalism is try to contact me through my Yahoo email address and give me a heads up as to where you're going regarding a topic. Remember, that's the first thing that people are going to see when they click on your names at the blog. And I should also indicate this. You've got all the way through final exam week to freshen this up. Usually during a final exam time during the fall and spring semester, final grades are not due until Monday at 10 a.m. I try to give you as much time as possible to freshen everything to your satisfaction. I'm going to go to Google Drive in just a moment, but I wanted to indicate that when we come back for class on Thursday, we'll take one more look at all of your blogs, taking specific reaches and looks at assignment 20, which is the wild card, and then reach back to assignment 19 in case some of you are still working on the classmate blog critiques. I'll reinforce that in just a moment, but as I indicated, let's go to Google Drive first. There are many windows open. And from this perspective, with the wild card being due on Thursday, I wanted to take all of today for intense, detailed research on what you might want to do for visual journalism. But all of your websites will be looked at from the perspective of the wildcard projects, and please make sure you get caught up ASAP, because timeliness, as I've said on many occasions, will be a factor. And professionalism, design consistency, spelling, grammar, syntax, all of the things that I have indicated over and over again will be taken into account, as well as using all of these items with the checklist as something that is going to help you whenever you are comparing your work with that of your classmates from 2021 or what people have done in past years. The news stories may change, the writing styles may change, the blogs may change, but the creativity is always going to be there. And all of these items that have been produced in past years for visual journalism projects may help you, in addition to background research from what we did in August to what we were doing last week. And remember, video V is going to be right over here. And we will be back not only on Thursday of this week, but also on Wednesday afternoon of final exam week. So for all of you who were enrolled in this class, from top to bottom, really make sure that you have assignments 1 through 20 exactly the way you want. And at that point, I can put a score of a maximum of 200 points for the blog, with 300 required in the course, 50 for the final project, and 50 for class participation, as I indicated at the beginning of class. And that brings us to the end of a very long day. Data visualization, infographics, visual journalism, many projects going back 9 years. But what do you want to do? What do you think best represents your visual acuity as a professional journalist, realizing, as I indicated a moment ago, that when someone clicks on your name from that list, it's the first thing that people are going to see. It could be long, it could be short, But it's really important that you go back and watch this video in its entirety to make certain that whatever we see is reflective of your personality and professionalism as a news reporter, writer, and editor. We will continue with assignment 20, wild card, and taking a look at all of your blogs from top to bottom in depth, both on Thursday of this week and also on Wednesday of final exam week, with the proviso that whenever we meet on Wednesday of final exam week, and I'll give you a specific time whenever we come back, but I think it's really important that all of you understand that you've got a lot of time to finish this. Let me give you one more quick bit of interactivity because I never put it up on the screen. This is from Twitter. And I'm trying to put it up on the screen and it is not working. Let me try it one more time. Maybe I have too many windows open, but from my Twitter account, and I'm still not getting it on the screen, but from my Twitter account, I have Wednesday afternoon as the time when we can meet. And now, there we go. It took a long time, and finally it came up on the screen. So when I click on this and it goes full screen, my game plan, as you're well aware, because we don't have an official meeting time with an online course, but more than likely, I am going to be here Wednesday of next week from 2:10 to 3:30. It's never a requirement to be with me live, but I think it's important to see where we are during final exam week with progress all of you are making, such as what we're going to be doing on Thursday in this class with assignment 20, the wild card. Do the same thing during final exam week, looking at visual journalism projects. So realistically, probably during that 2:10 to 3:30 window, we will be meeting. Now, this obviously was the longest class period of the year, but when you go back and watch the creativity and quality of writing and the immersive interactivity that people bring to their blogs, I think it's helpful just to do a deep dive into what so many people have done with videos, with writing, with editing, because your experience as a news professional is going to encompass so many different things, with hard news, with featured news, with opinions. It really is important to have your fingers in a lot of different areas that are going to help you with that overall expansive knowledge that's necessary to be a news professional. Because if you're working in a professional position, you're going to have those fingers in a lot of different pies, and it's important that you be proficient in as many of these tasks as possible, which is why you've got not only 20 news assignments for the blog, but the visual journalism final project. We will continue with assignment 20, the wild cards and the progress that you're making with your blogs as a whole in 48 hours. As for MM 2003, reporting and writing for the mass media, keep up the good work, and that concludes the recording session for today.